Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Basketball Conference, the ACC Football Podcast. My name is Joey Weaver. He's Mike McDaniel. Mike, week 3 is upon us. How are you doing? You ready to go? Mike, can you hear me? Are you there?
Hot start. Here I am. I am now. No, hot start.
Technical issues. Gotta love that.
Man.
Week 3. That sets the tone for another episode of the Basketball Conference Podcast. We are live, youtube.com/at the ACC Football Podcast. We think, we hope. Maybe not. So. Who knows? Yeah.
One of us is live.
It is a few minutes before 11 o'clock Thursday night, September the 12th. We got a bunch of games for week 3 that we're going to preview. We got a lot going on tonight. Shout out to the people that are here with us in the chat. Anybody who's not here with us in the chat, youtube.com/at the ACC Football Podcast. Go hit the subscribe button. We appreciate the folks that are helping us with that. We're working our way towards 500 subscribers this season. We are up 37 subscribers from this time last week, Mike. We are up to 392, and just really, really appreciate all the help that you guys have been giving us with that. This has gone so much faster than I ever thought was possible. So shout out to the people that are hitting that subscribe button, hitting the like button. That's a big deal for us too. And just unbelievably grateful for all the support that you guys are giving us.
Keep it rolling. We are really pushing the YouTube here.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
Absolutely.
We established it. #established it. We got the run game going early, and now we're really trying to roll the subscriber count up. So yeah, appreciate everybody continuing to tune in. Technical
Absolutely.
difficulties and all.
Real OGs would know that is just kind of that's a feature, not a bug, with the Basketball Conference Podcast is technical difficulties.
I mean, at least you don't have to wear your scuba gear anymore to listen to our podcast. So
yeah, thank God. Jesus.
We've come from dark times. Go back like 8 years, and there are some interesting audio episodes. Sound like I'm recording in a toll booth 30,000 feet under.
Yeah, we've come a long way, and yet we're still here.
I'm still frozen,
Anyways, thanks to the folks who have stuck with us all those years, and thanks to the new folks. We enjoy having you guys around, and we enjoy a nice little walk down memory lane from time to time. We are going to preview. We got a bunch of Week 3 games here we're going to get into, Mike. Before we do that, I just wanted to kind of open the floor here. Any final thoughts on Week 2? Anything that we didn't really hit on in the recap, or that kind of came to mind after the fact? Anything that you wanted to bring up?
I just want to reemphasize, and I listened back, and I think we did an okay job of this, but I just want to reemphasize, I think there's a real chance that Clemson might be, capital G good, but not elite. You know what I mean? For the first time in a while, be top 10, legitimate top 10 good for the first time in a few years, instead of okay, they're in the top 10, but who have they beaten? If they show up playing offense like that the rest of the year, and it's just oh, okay, they lost to Georgia. Georgia's going to do that to a lot of teams, and I just feel like that's number one, a really tough opener for obvious reasons. Number two, I think the book has been out on Clemson, long term, we've hit on it with the transfer portal and all that stuff, and I think all that stuff's justified. But I do also think Dabo's got a pretty good roster, legitimately a very good roster at some skill positions where maybe they've been lacking the last few years. I think the defensive line is back to being their national championship contending caliber defensive line. I think the receiving core is better. A lot of the young players got in against App State and looked pretty good. So I think that they may be hitting on some of these guys, but I also want to be cautious that it's also a 1-game sample size. So be careful of that too. But they just looked so overwhelmingly good, and they haven't laid it on a team like that in a while. And it was just really encouraging to see. So I think if you're a Clemson fan, there's a chance that maybe that's repeatable. We'll see.
Okay.
That's a thought I have.
I am definitely considering that like small sample size theater for my purposes. Like, I need to see that more than one or two more times. I mean, I like their performance against Georgia, and I realize you're playing Georgia, and Georgia can make anybody and everybody look bad. But even adjusting for that, I thought that was the Clemson that I was a little bit more used to seeing, that looked kind of disjointed on offense and just kind of struggling to put the pieces together. I wonder a little bit, did App State think that they had scouted a couple things? There were just a few big plays, and all of a sudden the game's just a total avalanche. Like, if I see that one or two more times from Clemson, I'll believe it. But
Yeah.
I'm skeptical, and again, what this team has been for a little over 2 years now, probably. Like, are we sure that they're deviating from that, or is it a little bit more that and just it was a really good effort on one game against App State?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep. The thing I wanted to mention, something that we talked about and kind of hit on, we talked about the SMU quarterback situation, and it was
Kevin
like,
Jennings is the
yeah,
starter now.
figure it out, pick someone, and yeah, like this week SMU came out and named Kevin Jennings the starter for SMU, which I have opinions on, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? But at the very least, we're committing to somebody, right? Like, so there's that. And it again, we mentioned kind of Preston Stone and Kevin Jennings, like pretty different quarterbacks stylistically. Like you can't really call the same offense for both of those guys. So at the very least, now you've designed one offense and call it around that guy. And if Stone has to come into the game, then you kind of figure it out. But hopefully this kind of builds at least a little bit of continuity for SMU that they're going to need as they get into the conference schedule.
I just still don't get it, really. But I mean, maybe now that they're not going to do the shuffling thing, maybe the offense starts looking a little bit more coherent.
Yeah.
Cohesive also. I think cohesive is the word I was looking for, but coherent works as well, considering that performance we just saw. Competent. A lot of C words. Yeah. So I'll leave that there.
SMU on a bye this week, which I think, again, that's good timing. Like, you get a few extra practices where you have an established starter in place.
Yeah.
Before, I believe they got to play for the Skillet next weekend, right?
They do. It's a big game.
Yep.
It's a big game for maybe their bowl hopes with the way that offense has looked so far. We'll see. But
they got TCU. I'll say come into town, but I mean really just kind of driving across town to come visit them. So, we'll see about that for SMU. We'll preview that game next week as we get closer. Otherwise, again, just wanted to kind of reiterate. I mean, I was really impressed with Syracuse last week, more than I thought I would be coming into the year. So I'm genuinely very curious to see if they're able to make some noise in the ACC and kind of work their way towards that upper middle class, if not, low end of the upper class in the ACC. I think that's on the table, especially if you've got a guy like Kyle McCord playing the way that he did last weekend.
Yeah, they're solid. I mean, I think their win total being around 7.5, most books, gives you a pretty good indication. A lot of people thought this would be like an 8-win team. They figured out quarterback. The offense looks pretty good. Like, Quinn Allen looks fantastic. McCord has been incredibly accurate. I mean, I think they've got everybody's attention, just kind of with how McCord has played. We'll see about the defense. Like, I still have some questions. There was some coverage busts and stuff like that, like late in the game against Georgia Tech. The Jackets tried to fight back late to get back into that game. There was some run game stuff against Ohio in the opener. So I'm just want to keep an eye on their defense. But that offense looks legit. I mean, they're looking like they can score with pretty much anybody they play. And I get it's an ACC schedule, but they're going to be able to put some points on the board. So Trevor Pena was great against Georgia Tech. He's been good the first two games. He's emerging as a very good pass catcher for them. So they got some pieces on offense. I have my questions on defense with them, but I think they got a pretty good roster.
Yep. One other thing I'll call out, by the way, from that game and something to monitor, I think more so from the Syracuse side, is Syracuse did have a punt and a field goal blocked and gave up an onside kick.
Yeah.
So definitely some special team stuff that I don't know. They could be just 1 week weirdness stuff, but something to monitor and just keep an eye on.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, Mike, anything else week 2?
Nothing week 2. I mean, conference is realigned again. I don't really want to get real deep into that, but the Pac-12 is not dead yet, apparently. So, I mean,
yeah.
it's dead. It's dead in its prior form, but now in its new form, it's basically just the Mountain West with new branding.
Yeah. There's an analogy somewhere out there that I'm working on with Stanford and Cal having left and now maybe looking back, and I don't know. I'm going to workshop that. I might have something for you on the recap show. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, look, after a couple drinks on a couple bevies on Saturday, I think we can work something up there.
Oh, yeah.
The thing about the Cal Stanford thing that's especially funny now is they signed into the ACC grant of rights, so in order to get out and go back to the Pac-12, they'd have to basically do what Florida State and Clemson are doing, which is sue the ACC. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't really see the benefit outside of just the regionality and being a part of something you were a part of before. I don't really see the draw for Clemson and I could maybe see a draw for Clemson depending on how they continue to play football. Cal and Stanford to go back to their prior home. It's just not realistic. It's not going to happen. Not anytime soon. So
look, if Cal and Stanford can be in the ACC, Clemson can be in the Pac-12. Don't let your dreams be dreams, Mike. Make them happen.
Anything's possible in conference realignment, as we've learned.
Anything is indeed possible, such as last week's locks. Mike, I went 2-1 on the week, had Tennessee -8, Pittsburgh +1.5. Both of those came in. Auburn -13 decidedly did not come in. That game went very differently than I thought. Really good outing from Cal there. You had Duke Northwestern under 37.5. That was a brutal beat.
That almost had me institutionalized.
Yep. Yeah. You also had Tennessee -8. So it was a 1-1 week for you once again. So I'm 4-1 so far this season on my locks. You are 2-2. You have caught a couple of bad luck losses. So.
I would say so. Yeah, some brutal. I had 2 in particular last weekend. I had the under in Texas, Michigan, and that went over by half a point, and that was basically 12 hours removed from the Duke Northwestern debacle. So I mean,
that's the level that you might have just gotten the wrong number. You waited too long to bet it, or something like that. All right, you're that close.
Yeah,
that hurts.
Yeah, that was not great.
Yeah, not great at all. What do you say we correct things for week 3? How's that sound?
I think I need to.
I don't need to correct mine, but Lord knows that's coming. So let's get into it.
Fade Joe.
Saturday, September 7th. We have a bunch of games. I have not counted them, but we're going to go through all of them. Before we go into these, just a reminder for all you folks out there on Twitter or wanting to email us, please use hashtag GoACCMOTW for your Go ACC Moment of the Week submissions. We would appreciate the help, and we can't have our eyes everywhere at all times. So anytime you see something that you feel like is Go ACC Moment of the Week worthy, please hit us up. Either, again, Twitter, use that hashtag, or send us an email and send us a link, or just give us a description of what you saw, some sort of timestamp in the game. Anything you can do to help, that would be a lot of fun, and we'll give you credit if you send those to us during the day on Saturday.
And we have been seeing them. Oh, yes.
Speaking of emails, we got a quality email this week, and I think Mike, you can do the honors of reading that out.
Oh, I'm not prepared, but I can be. Give me 2 seconds.
From Brent Turner. Shout out, Brent, if you're listening live or if you're listening later.
Yep, just
find it.
This is
an elite email.
Found it. This is from Brent Turner, like Scott just mentioned. Long-time listener, first-time subscriber. Thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
I was wondering what I should do with all this leftover Brian Van Gorder currency. If you're an OG, Can I convert it into
on that Van Gorder coin? Let's go.
Can I convert it into DJU dollars? All jokes aside, I love listening to you guys. Keep up the work. Go Hokies. Oh, we got a Hokie in the house. Shout out, Brent.
Excellent, Brent.
For those of you who are new here, Joey and I did this thing I think it was 2 seasons ago now, because I don't think we did this last year, where
I think it was 3.
it might have been 3 years ago, where we were making bets and calling it Van Gorder coin after the great Brian Van Gorder, who is a bit of a meme on this podcast. Former ACC great, might I add, Brian Van Gorder, who's now, coaching high school tennis or something.
We had.
Yes, we hardly knew ye. Van Gorder coin that we were using to gamble on games. And it was like our running podcast thing. So we were like, oh, we're up X amount of Van Gorder coin. It became really hard to track. So we stopped doing that. Also,
you
we
podcast long enough, you try a lot of bits, Mike, and some of them work and some of them don't.
Yeah, and we've had several that have hit. Shout out Queen Elizabeth. And we've had several that have not. Shout out Brian Van Gorder coin in particular. So that's what happened to that. Can you convert it into DJU dollars? That's a check your local regional bank for that information.
The minute that he is no longer in the ACC, that very well might make an appearance on this show. So I appreciate the thought there from Brett.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well.
Yep. All right, let's get into these games. Let's start out with what I think might be the most kind of interesting spot of the day, as the number 24 Boston College Eagles on the road taking on the number 6 Missouri Tigers. Boston College, a 17-point road underdog. Total is 53.5. Mike, this is at 12:45. Your favorite TV slot of the day. It is at 12:45 on the SEC network.
We have several 6 p.m. starts as well this week, Joey.
I don't, man, we are really taking some liberties with the TV windows here, so I don't know what this is about, but sure, 12:45 SEC network. Boston College has had a couple of good games so far to start. They go on the road to Columbia, taking on a top 10 Missouri. Lee nobody. Van Gorder coin. Van Gorder coin, the only coin that crashed before it ever spiked. That is completely accurate, especially if you follow the bets on this podcast. But
damn sure.
Boston College going into Columbia. Missouri has not really been tested so far. How do you feel about the Eagles' chances going into this game, Mike?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. Missouri has not been tested yet. They opened up against Murray State. They won that game 51-0. Then they beat Buffalo 38-0 last weekend. So I mean, they haven't played anybody. Nobody has scored on Missouri yet. They are number 1 in the FBS in scoring defense. Nobody has scored on them so far. Adjust that for opponent, and that's why we have SP+. Mm-hmm. We don't know a lot about Missouri. I'd argue that out of like the top 10, 15, 20 teams in the country, we probably know least about Missouri. I think on paper, they look really good. I mean, 10 wins last year. I bet on them to make the college football playoff. Missouri will give up the most points they have all year. Book it. Shout out Dennis.
Nobody has BC been challenged yet. Man, the chat is hot tonight. Let's go.
And that's a question that was kind of the way I was heading. Is there a chance that BC hasn't been challenged either? And granted, of course, they've been challenged more than Missouri. I think you and I would hopefully take Florida State over Buffalo or Murray State on a neutral field, but maybe we'll have, after a third data point, maybe we'll feel differently about that. We'll talk about Florida State here in a little bit.
Don't worry, that's coming up.
That is coming up. That's going to be the most fun we have on this podcast tonight, potentially. I worry about BC up front here a little bit, right? I think we go into these games, and I bring this up a lot because it might be the most wrong. Well, we have to check the tape. It might be the most wrong I've ever been on this podcast. Lamar Jackson's Heisman year, when they played Kentucky, and Joey was warning me about the Louisville offensive line that kind of looked like ass most of the year, and Lamar was great in spite of that offensive line being like mid to kind of ass.
I think the week before I had been at the Houston game when Houston's defensive line I think they got like 9 sacks in that game or something. I mean, it was something completely atrocious.
And I said, they've been fine all year. Why wouldn't they be fine against a mediocre Kentucky team? And Joey's argument was, well, Kentucky's like really good up front, and they're not really good at anything else. Lo and behold, Kentucky won that game kind of going away. I'm not saying this is the same situation, but I'm saying that's how I'm playing it. Give me Mizzou. I don't think their 10 wins last year were fluky. I think they were legitimately good, right? Not a lot of people expected them to have double-digit wins last year. I think people were expecting Missouri to maybe be improved and maybe it would be a progress year for Eli Drinkwitz. They were really good. There's a reason why they're like a not-so-sleeper for the playoff. Like they're one of those teams in the SEC that could certainly get a bid. And I'm buying it. I think the offense is going to be a handful. I think BC is going to struggle here defensively. I also could see this being like BC covers this, and that wouldn't shock me either. I don't know if Boston College is the 24th ranked team in the country, but like from 18 onward, there are so many mediocre teams. I can't get over it. There's a lot of mediocre so far that I've seen through the first few weeks of the season. So,
yeah.
All that to say, I'm going to take Missouri minus the 16. Think they win this game by like maybe just inside 3 scores. At home, I think helps a lot. And then the fact that you got an offense that might be the toughest that BC plays all year. I think that plays into it too. I would lean over. I would lean on the over 53.5 here, only because I do think Boston College will score a little bit, and I think Missouri is going to cover the spread. So I think you can get to 53.5 pretty quickly if you play that math.
Yeah. When I originally looked at this, I had the over as well, and then I took it away. And what I realized was I'm going to take Boston College to cover here. And I don't think that they really threaten to win, but I think this can be like a 10 to 14 point game. And where my head is at here, I'm wondering if this is like a Bill O'Brien coaching staff special where they are going to try to muck this game up, play slow, limit the possessions, just try to not let it get away from them kind of thing, to where it just limits Missouri's opportunities to get margin. I don't think that they're going to be able to threaten them to win this game. I really don't. I think this is, again, like a 10 to 14 point win, but that's what I'm going to bank on, is that they figure out something with the run game. Got, a couple good running backs there that they believe in. They're probably running Thomas Castellanos a good amount. I think they will do enough to kind of keep the chains moving, try to slow the game down, and keep it within that margin. So I'll take Boston College. I was with you. I wanted to take the over, but I don't think I can make that make sense with the game script that I'm describing here.
Yep.
So,
Agree.
So I guess I'll take like Missouri wins maybe like 28-14, something like that, or 31-17, something in that range. But I think Boston College is going to try to keep this a lower scoring game, and in doing so will keep this within the 16.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I'm a little skeptical of Missouri being like the 6th best team in the country. I mean, I think they're plenty good, and they were very good last year. And clearly, I mean, they've just disposed of everyone they've played so far this year. But we'll see if they can really be that dominant against a more legitimate opponent than what they've played so far.
I think that's all fair points.
Yep. Boston College against the spread for me, Mizzou and the over for Mike, but I don't think either of us interested in locking anything up here.
No, absolutely not.
All right. Let's keep it moving. Let's move to 3:30 on ESPN2, Mike. It is the Backyard Brawl. We did it last year. We're going to do it again. We got Pittsburgh playing host to West Virginia. West Virginia, a 2-point road favorite here. Total is 63.5. And Mike, by Pittsburgh, you know what that makes them?
That makes them the home field home dog of the week.
Their home field apparel, home dog of the week. Use promo code GOACC for 15% off your first order at homefieldapparel.com. They have got all sorts of wonderful vintage, super comfortable T-shirts. Basically every school in the ACC, you can find gear on there. They've got all sorts of different things. Bomber jackets, and they just came out with some corduroy hats today. So lots of cool things you can use that promo code for.
Out of control. Steal my money.
Mm-hmm. You might
Use
even
the
find
code.
yourself. Go ahead, Scott.
Use the code or use the link in the description. Scroll down, click that link. We get kickback even if you use the link and don't get the code. So if you're gonna buy something, just click our link and that helps us.
Please do. Please do. You might even be going to Home Field Apparel to buy a certain shirt that looks kind of like this right here. I don't know. It's super soft. It looks great. It's got these
Good
numbers
time to wear
on
that
here.
one.
Yeah, it says 13 to 9. I kind of forget exactly what those numbers refer to. Mike, do you remember?
Man, that's a really good time to wear that shirt and talk about this game, huh?
Awfully relevant, isn't it? I believe the year was 2007.
I hope you're picking Pitt in this spot because feels right.
Well, we'll get to that in just a second. It was 2007, by the way. This shirt here, by the way, for those listening on audio, my shirt, this is a nice kind of like a sky blue shirt. It's, I don't know what the proper Pitt color is, but it's a nice blue color, and in yellow letters on it, or numbers, it just says 13 to 9, which is a reference to December 1st, 2007, when the 4-7 Pittsburgh Panthers went into Morgantown playing the number 2 West Virginia Mountaineers. West Virginia was basically win and you're in to the BCS national title game. Pitt not going to a bowl game. And Pitt went into Morgantown and won 13 to 9 and knocked West Virginia out of the national title race in a wonderful, just memorable moment in Backyard Brawl history. So if you want that shirt, homefieldapparel.com, and once again, use promo code GOACC for 15% off, or, if you can use the link in the description down below to also get some sweet deals and some kickbacks for us. So appreciate the people who do that.
Big on the kickbacks. Big on the kickbacks.
Mike, Pitt's winning this game outright.
I agree.
Let's
I
go.
I agree.
Short home dog.
I agree. We love ourselves a short home dog. I think Pitt's winning this game outright. I think there is a chance for an emotional letdown given the fact that Pittsburgh came storming back against Cincinnati last weekend. But then when I thought a little bit harder about it, it's the Backyard Brawl. Why would there be an emotional letdown? Pitt is going to be ready to go here. They're going to be ready to play. There's going to be no hangover from a comeback win over Cincinnati a week ago. And by the way, I'll let you in on a little secret, Joey. I think Pitt's got the better quarterback.
Oh.
I think Pitt's got the better
going.
quarterback. I really like what I've seen out of Eli Holstein.
Mm-hmm.
Good. He was good in the opener. He was really, really good. A little bit of a rough start last week, but really, really good during the comeback.
He was good in the fourth quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. Good in the fourth quarter. He was good when it counted. They're going to need more of that. I think they're just in a better spot offensively. New coordinator, everything's kind of paying off quite nicely here.
I was going to say, do you remember that game last year?
Not really.
I mean, it was only memorable in how, absolutely filthy ugly it was.
Yeah.
I think you had Phil Dracovic at quarterback for Pitt, threw for less than 100 yards and 3 interceptions. Just a filthy, ugly performance from Pitt in that game, and it was a pretty hard watch, honestly. But I'm kind of with you. I mean, you definitely upgraded quarterback here for Pitt. You got a new offense entirely, a new offensive coordinator. I like where they're at, and I feel like West Virginia backsliding just a little bit off last year. Not that they were outstanding last year, but if they were gettable last year, I think they're definitely gettable now. It's in your yard, Acrisure Stadium, Heinz Field, the big catch-up ball.
They'll sell that thing out.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Pitt at home. I think Pitt gets it done and evens up this rivalry from last year.
Yeah. I like Pitt here. I just have some questions. I think the point you had about West Virginia taking a half step back is a fair one. I think they'll be competitive here. I think it'll be a close game. But, yeah, this feels ripe for the taking. And it feels like this is the game where you reap the benefits of having Cade Bell as your offensive coordinator and making that hire, which kind of goes against the Narduzzi grain. Mm-hmm. This is where that pays dividends. And I think you started to see that in the second half last week against Cincinnati, where it's like you're down, you're up against it. Last year, they would have had no chance. Last couple of years, they would have had no chance of making a comeback like that. And the fact that they did, I think, speaks to, early signs of development offensively. And I like Holstein a lot. So, yeah, I think this is a good spot here for Pitt.
Yeah. Total is 63.5. You know what I like even more than Pittsburgh to win this game outright?
Don't do this.
We're not doing it?
You're not banging over here. You're not banging over here, are you?
Oh, absolutely not. Okay, give me the under and lock it up.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
No, we got a rivalry game. We got two. I think they're going to, especially in the first half, I could see this going a little bit slow, try to feel each other out a little bit and wait to do anything too crazy. These teams have combined to play 4 games so far. Only one of them has gone north of 64 points. So, no, give me the under here, and yeah, we're going to lock that up.
I like the under, but not nearly enough to lock it up. So.
63.5, just too many for me.
It's a lot of points.
Quite a few.
It's a lot of points. Yeah.
All right, Pitt outright for the both of us, and I've got the under locked up. Mike, you ready to move on?
Let's do it.
8 o'clock on the ACC Network, your Virginia Cavaliers at home against the Maryland Terrapins. Noted conference game here. Virginia, a 2.5-point home dog. Totals 57.5. I have a weird feeling wrong team favored here.
Maybe. We don't know a lot about Maryland.
We know they lost to Michigan State at home last week. That's not a great look right now.
How bad is that going to look by the end of the year, do we think?
Michigan State's one of those teams, though, like under Jonathan Smith, like they could be substantially better by November than they are right now. And like it won't look as bad, but in the moment, it's not good.
I agree. I agree with everything you said. I agree with. Maryland also gave that game away a little bit.
Okay.
They gave that game away a little bit.
Yeah, I mean...
all that to say, I like UVA here. Short home dog. Better quarterback.
You need the points,
money.
or you just want them on the scoreboard?
I want them on. I think they win this game outright, Joey. I think they win this game outright. I like Virginia. Calandra has been a dog, man. Like he made some really boneheaded throws against Wake, but he made some big ones too. And this is this is one short home dog. Bet on Monticello Manziel from Oahu. Monticello Manziel.
That's elite nickname.
We might need to slap a trademark on that bad boy.
That's wow. I could not have come up with that myself, but I see what you're going for there.
I do too. Wow. Yeah, I like Virginia. I don't know, man. This is you win this one and you're 3-0. I think it would be something if you didn't go bowling. Mm-hmm. This feels like an improved UVA team, man, especially if you're able to steal this one. I think this is one of those games that helps get Tony Elliott off the hot seat if you win this one and you get off to a 3-0 start that nobody really saw coming. Yeah. Winning like 2 out of your first 3 like really tough games. That's what you want. So, yeah, I like UVA here. Short home dog, and I have no opinion on the total because I don't really know enough about Maryland. I don't think anybody does. The Michigan State game, it could be an aberration. It could be a sign of things to come. I think it's going to be a tight game, though. So, give me the Who's.
You got the Who's outright?
Who's outright? Money line.
Same.
Hell yeah.
Who's outright? Cavaliers,
yeah.
Virginia winning this game. Again, wrong team favored. I like what Virginia's doing, and they do look just a hair improved, and that's good enough for me right now. I see this total 57.5. I like the over here too. I think both of these teams are going to be able to score, and for whatever Calandria is doing for Virginia's offense, I think the defense is a little bit of a question mark. And so again, I think both these teams will be able to score. So give me the over 57.5 here as well. This will be a fun, interesting game to watch, though, I think, because this is it's a Big Ten team against an ACC team, which these days is, feels a little bit like it should be a mismatch, but I don't know where Maryland's at right now. Coming off that loss, going on the road, this could be a bit of a raucous environment at Scott Stadium. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm with you, Virginia outright, and give me the over.
Everybody hammered on Zima. Long couple hours of tailgating.
Man, just
Had to get jabbing. Got to get jabbing.
Zima is what you drink when you're done with the wine. Is that it?
That was very good, Joey. That was good. +1 for you.
There you go. All right, Virginia outright for the both of us, and we'll take over the 57.5.
No opinion on the total for me.
Fair enough. Let's go to noon on ESPN as the Florida State Seminoles are at home taking on the Memphis
so
Tigers. Florida State is a 6.5-point home favorite. Total is 52.5. Florida State coming off a bye week. Mike, did they get it fixed in Tallahassee?
Probably not. But this is so trendy. This is the Norvell Bowl. This is like so upset pick trendy. I can't do it. I can't do it out of principle. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I can't do it. Florida State, give me the Noles. I think
You're
this
laying
is the game.
a touchdown with the Noles.
I'm laying a touchdown. Only got to win by 7 for this bet to hit, Joey. I only gotta win by 7. I think this is the game where Florida State and their defensive line and their linebacking core play a little bit better. I think this is where we see it. This is where we see it, in my opinion. Now, Memphis does have some pretty good running backs.
Mm-hmm. You think they know how to run counter?
The best one got hurt, but they got several more. And yes, they can run counter.
Oh shit!
And Florida State has proven that they defend that like Virginia Tech did last year. They have a really, really hard time with it. So
Which is they don't. Yeah.
Which is they don't defend it. They run 3 guys at the A gap, and the next thing you know, there's a running back 45 yards up the field, and he doesn't have to be that fast. So that's the problem. That's a problem for Florida State. I think they play better here. A couple weeks to prepare. You get this game at home. The main reason why I'm picking Florida State here is because I think it's way too trendy. Exactly what I thought about the Arizona State Texas State game that just went final. By the way, that's my first win of the weekend, Joey. I had Arizona State plus the 1.5. They won by a field goal. Won by a field goal in San Marcos. That was way too trendy. Arizona State is also.
You take the points or just like the plus 110.
I took the points. I wasn't getting plus 110. I was
okay. Well.
I forget exactly what it was. The juice wasn't great, so I just did the 1.5.
Either way,
it's all the same. With a spread that short, it's all the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is feeling trendy for me. But Joey, I don't care if Florida State wins this game or not. You want to know why?
Why is that?
Because we're locking up the under 53.5.
Oh. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
With everything I just told you, right, Florida State's defense playing better, right? If that's going to be the recipe, that doesn't mean that Florida State's offense has to play well.
That's a good thing for them.
Doesn't mean that they have to play well. Yeah, it is a good thing for them. It is a good thing for them because they can't score that many points. So maybe I'm contradicting myself a little bit here. Maybe for this game to go under, like Memphis has to cover potentially. Mm-hmm. But I think that this is a tight, low-scoring game. I think Florida State wins this game by like 7 or 8 points, and I think it goes under. This feels like 24-17 or 20-13 or something. Mm-hmm. I don't see a lot of points being scored here.
It's fair. That's fair. Lee Nobody asks, what's the implied score for this game? I think the math works out. It's like 29-23, I think, is 29 and a half, 23.
Gets you in the range, yeah.
Basically. So I'm kind of with you on that. That feels like a lot of points for this game. Lee Nobody also mentions, can you wait for the send-off from game day to this game? That's going to be hilarious.
That'll be something.
Send it off, Kirk. We know how he feels about Florida State.
It's the only shortcoming of his entire career, basically,
Mike,
other than the whole Les Miles thing that one time.
Yeah, that's another ball of wax.
Yeah.
I have watched enough Florida State this year. I cannot in good faith lay 7 points with Florida State right now against a competent, awake football team. Like, I can't do it. So give me Memphis. I don't have the guts to pick Memphis to win the game outright. I don't. I'm going to say Florida State maybe wins by 3. This could be, 17-14 or 24-21, something like that. Like, I don't have the guts to do it, but I do not trust them to get like almost any amount of margin here. This might be a 3 or 4 point game that Florida State wins. I would not rule out Memphis winning this game outright, by the way. That is fully on the table, and it's totally trendy. You're correct. And again, Florida State has played 2 games against God and everyone, and lost one and looked like hell and lost in the other. So you understand why, but this feels like a really important spot for Mike Norvell. You've had a week off. You kind of need to pick yourself up off the mat and rally the troops and figure something out. And if you can't, this is about to be a lost season. I feel like there is a lot riding on this game in a weird way for Florida State. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really nice rebuilding job from Norvell. We thought, you know what undoes that?
Losing this
going
game.
like 3-9 and losing to this team.
Yeah.
In this game, in this spot, with your history with that school, you cannot lose this game.
Yeah, not a good look.
Can't lose this game. Cannot.
I will say there's, and I won't harp too long on Florida State here, but there is a piece of me that can't get out of my head the 2020 and 2021 seasons for Florida State. Like, missed bowl games both of those years under Norvell, and I mean both years under 500, and understanding, like, yes, you were coming off of the Willie Taggart debacle, which was coming off of the Jimbo Fisher debacle, and there was still some roster reconstruction going on, but like, still felt like some decent underperformance there. Like, did Norvell truly fix it the last 2 years, or did he have a really good 18-game stretch and now the thing has fallen apart again? Like, is he not going to be able to put it all back together? Like, there's a piece of me that's wondering, and again, I might put too much emphasis on this one game, but that's a little bit of where my head's at here.
Is he recruiting well enough?
Out of high school or the portal?
Well, out of the portal, I think he's been fine. Out of high school,
I don't know. I legitimately cannot speak to that. I don't know. I haven't paid that much attention to it, but it's a good question. And
gotta do both.
Yeah, it sure feels like any program with stability at the highest level of the sport, there's a consistent theme of being able to recruit and retain out of high school for sure. Good question.
Keep an eye on this one.
For what it's worth, I'm on the under as well. I'm not going to lock it up, but I like the under here as well. 53.5. That's a lot of points. It feels like, if anything, Florida State's defense is going to try to control this game, and if they can't, it's probably bad for Florida State.
I would agree. Yeah, I would definitely agree.
So I've got Memphis in the under. You've got Florida State and locked up the under. Mike, by virtue of Florida State losing to Georgia Tech in Ireland in week 0, Georgia Tech now owns Florida State, I believe. And so this preview brought to you by Section103.com, the internet's premier place for all things wonderful Georgia Tech apparel. They've got t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, something for men, women, children, babies, something for the whole family. Every Georgia Tech fan in your life, they need something from Section103.com. Use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. They've got all sorts of great NIL shirts. Again, Haynes King, Zach Pyron, Eric Singleton, those shirts. I've got a couple brand new shirts actually in the closet that, Saturday night, one of them is probably going to make an appearance. So excited to share that with you. They got a lot of new things that have come out all the time. They're using the official Tech Gold, all the official word marks, super high quality. They look great. They feel great. You're going to love yours just the way that I love mine. Once again, section103.com. Use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. Shout out to Steven and the gang. Really appreciate their support. Just absolute wonderful lineup they've got over there. You will love yours. I promise you that.
All the Georgia Tech fans will get their stuff from there. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's keep moving here. Mike, at 6:30 on the Cheeks W, we've got the Wake Forest Steamin' Deeks at home hosting the number 5 Ole Miss Rebels. Wake, a 22.5 point underdog at home. Total is 63.5. This number has actually come down a little bit. I saw it earlier in the week at Wake Forest 24, catching 24 instead of 22.5. But I don't know if you've seen what Ole Miss has done so far this year, but they're basically tearing everyone they play limb from limb.
They are.
And they're taking no prisoners. And
They are, correct.
And I don't know how much how much this is going to apply when they start playing some really high-end competition later in the year. But with all due respect to Wake Forest and all love to our Steamin' Deeks, not really top-end competition. So I think there's a decent shot that Ole Miss is going to show up in Winston-Salem and tear Wake Forest limb from limb. So give me Ole Miss, and let's lock that up, Mike.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
I'll lay 22.5. That's fine. I ain't scared.
There just seems to be something fitting about Lane Kiffin coaching a game on Cheeks W. That's the one thing I will say. Just fitting. It's just there's a little chef's kiss to that. That's the one thought I had.
Is
Second
that officially Lane Kiffin coaching, or is that Joey Freshwater? I don't know.
Oh boy, yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. I'm gonna refrain from the next comment so I don't hear from his attorney. Wake Forest.
Save it for Saturday night. Yeah.
I'll save it for Saturday night. I mean, it's pretty sure I have immunity once I've had a few drinks. And, coming off of
the live show.
Yeah, that's right. Subscribe for the live show. Thank you, Scott. It's I think once we hit like 12:30 Eastern time after I've been working all night and have been drinking, I think that's the time I get immunity from anything that comes out of my mouth. I am on the other side of this. I think Wake Forest covers. Ole Miss, and here's why, because that line stinks. I feel like Ole Miss, because they've been tearing everybody limb for limb, I feel like they should be like a 24 to 27 point favorite. Like it feels like they should be favored by a little bit more. And I know this is like the second or third time tonight where I've been like, oh, everything's a trap. I think this is a trap also. And I agree with everything you said. Like Ole Miss, better team, without a doubt. Wake Forest looked a little bit shaky in the second half against UVA last week. We covered that extensively on the recap. And to Lee Nobody's point, which I think we should bring up now, CW underdogs, it's a principle. And also his second comment, Mike, trust the CW underdogs. I don't need to be talked into this, Lee. I don't need to be talked into it because I am on the Steamin' Deeks to cover. They win this game by, excuse me.
Careful.
Ole Miss wins this game. Ole Miss wins this game by like 17 to 20. I think they cruise. I think there's some backdoor cover potential. The total with that scenario, I think, is potentially ripe for the under, but I think Wake Forest could score some points here.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could score some points here. Scheme some stuff up, score some points. Bachmeier has been kind of slinging it all over the yard here first few games. Wake's offense has looked certainly better than it did last year, which I think is a good sign. But yeah, I think this game probably I would lean over, but I like Wake plus the points here. I think Ole Miss wins by like 2.5, 3 scores.
I like the over as well. I'm going to take that. I think there's a chance that Ole Miss gets most of the way there by themselves. Like, I could see Ole Miss upper 40s or into the 50s points wise. So at that point, you don't need that much from Wake Forest to get there. The one thing I will say that I think is important to note and something to keep an eye on in this game is I think something that makes Ole Miss different from last year is I do think that they've upgraded on defense. So, and that's part of where I think they can get margin here is not only do I think that they can score a whole bunch of points, but I think they can decently keep Wake off the scoreboard. So that's where I feel confident in the spread. That's where I don't feel as confident in the over because if this were like a 49-14 kind of thing, like that doesn't quite get us there. So
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lock up the over, but I will make that a pick. But I will lock up Ole Miss. I think they cover. We said 22.5. That's fine. So let's do that.
Okay. Fair enough.
Fair enough. Ole Miss locked up for me. Over for both of us. You've got Wake covering, and I hope for Wake's sake that they can keep this close and competitive, and maybe they can. Maybe Ole Miss going on the road does something. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yep. 6 o'clock on the ACC Network Extra and ESPN Plus. Your Virginia Tech Hokies, Mike, on the road in Norfolk, taking on the Old Dominion Monarchs. Hokies a 15-point road favorite here. Totals 49.5. Mike, I told you on the recap that I've got fun facts about this game. I'm
I
guessing
see it in the rundown. Yeah.
I'm guessing it's nothing that you don't know, but
yeah.
let me ask you this: what is your favorite Hokies win in Norfolk all time?
The next one.
The next one. It's like Tom Brady's favorite Super Bowl ring, Joey, as you know a lot about.
Yeah, but there's one small difference between Tom Brady's Super Bowl rings and Virginia Tech wins in Norfolk.
Brady's got more Super Bowl rings. You and I have the same. Well, let's make the joke even better. You and I have the same amount of wins in Norfolk as Virginia Tech.
That is correct. Virginia Tech has never won in Norfolk, that's a wild stat to me. Like I know that they've had a couple weird games there and lost a few years. I did not realize that they are 0-2 all time at Old Dominion.
The first time was the beginning at the end under Fuente back in 2018, and the second one was Brent Pry's debut with that really, really ass team that we had a couple years ago. So
Yeah. Big yikes. We got Ricky in the comments. Would somebody like to educate me here? What am I doing wrong? Norfolk? Norfolk?
Okay, so
Norfolk.
I tried to correct Mike, and then Ricky corrected me on how to say that word. And apparently I was wrong too. I was told it's Norfolk, and then apparently it's Norfolk. If you're from there. I don't know.
You're from Boston. If you're from Boston.
Norfolk. Okay, all right.
Boston, Massachusetts accents have made its way to the Tidewater region of Virginia.
And now Ricky has the comment that I was really worried that it was going to be.
And we're putting it on the screen, baby.
Yeah, that's for the YouTube watchers. That's not for the audio.
Yeah.
That's not for the audio feed. So
Yeah.
I guess I had my suspicions that might be what it was.
Yeah. And if Virginia Tech doesn't play well in this game, I'm going to be dropping the N from that and saying off. Yeah. I'll pause so that Scott doesn't have to bleep that out.
There it is. Well done.
I'm leaving
I think so I'll just do the honors here. Old Dominion, there's looking like a pretty decent chance their starting quarterback Grant Wilson doesn't play. It would be redshirt freshman Colton Joseph if Wilson is unable to go. We haven't seen really anything out of Colton Joseph. He redshirted last year. He's been a backup this year. We've seen literally nothing from Colton Joseph. The scouting reports indicate he might be a little bit of a scrambler. So if you're into that kind of thing, which Virginia Tech's defense certainly is not, then maybe I should hold on to your britches.
Scott takes another swig there.
Yeah. So just keep an eye on that. Now, the good news for Virginia Tech here is that Old Dominion really can't run the ball, that can't really throw the ball. They hung tough with South Carolina to their credit. I think the defense played pretty well. They also hung tough with an East Carolina team that looks like it might be improved, right? So the defense has looked okay, but granted, for as improved as South Carolina and East Carolina may be, I don't think anybody would mistake those two schools as having maybe the two best offenses in the FBS. I think we all kind of understand that those offenses are pretty mid. So, we'll see. Old Dominion's All-American linebacker, Jason Henderson, he's been banged up. He hasn't really played this year at all. He may not play again. So, I think that's pretty significant. Virginia Tech needs to just get out of their own way. They've had 4 quarters of football that have been really, really good. Played fantastic in the second half against Vanderbilt. Played really, really well second half last week. First half's been a little sleepy. Play calling's been interesting. I think if you commit to the run here and just actually run the ball and stay with it, which is what Virginia Tech did the entire second half of last year, it's going to open up the explosive passing game with all of Virginia Tech's receivers. I feel like they've kind of forced the issue because they have a bunch of really good receivers and forgot that Bashal Tutin is an all ACC caliber running back. When they remember that, the offense looks pretty good. When they don't, and they force stuff that's not there with a quarterback in Kyron Drones who really needs to have the reads kind of made for him, it looks a little bit iffy. All that to say, I think they run the ball better here. I think the defense shuts down an Old Dominion offense that has looked pretty lifeless so far. And I think they kind of cruise here. I think there's some backdoor cover potential, certainly. Fans are really irritated that Virginia Tech goes there every other year for the next 10 years. Whatever. Just beat them. Who cares? Just go there and beat them. This is a very mid Sun Belt team. Just beat the brakes off of them if you're that worried about it. That's where I'm at. I think Virginia Tech wins this game 30-10 or something. And because I said 30-10, Joey, that's on the under by a little over a touchdown. We're going to go ahead and lock up the under.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
Feel really good about that.
Makes sense. I notice you're not locking up Virginia Tech here.
No, I think there's backdoor cover potential. No.
You're a little spooked by Norfolk.
Not spooked.
I think
not spooked by Old Dominion. But I would not be shocked by any outcome here. We've seen it before.
We have seen it before. We've also seen Old Dominion lose their first 2 games by a combined 10 points to South Carolina in Columbia and then East Carolina at home. So I'm considering these things. I'm also considering, Mike, I think 2 weeks into this season so far, we've seen Virginia Tech play 2 games. And I think in both of them, we came away saying they got out-coached. And
yes. Definitely against Vanderbilt. I don't know if they got out-coached last week. I think they out-coached themselves last week. I think they got out-coached against Vanderbilt for sure.
I guess I'm getting concerned, and you mentioned the first half sleepiness and some things. I'm getting nervous about is Virginia Tech ready to go? Do they have good game plans on a weekly basis? Some of the fundamental kind of coaching things. All this going on the road into a bit of a house of horrors. Again, 0 for 2 there. A crowd that's going to be super riled up. All these things, and I don't want to lay 14.5 with the Hokies.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'll take my chances with Old Dominion. I don't think Old Dominion wins this one. I do think the Hokies get on the board in Norfolk. I think I've said it wrong every time so far, but anyways.
It's varying degrees of accent.
I do think the Hokies get one on the board here, but I do not trust them to get this kind of margin once again. And I've said that for a lot of teams so far, and it's going to continue to be kind of a theme of, who do I trust to break these games wide open? And Virginia Tech right now, not that team. So give me the Monarchs to cover. I do think Virginia Tech maybe wins by 10. I'd go maybe 28-17, something like that. I think you can get this to a 2-score game, but not a full 14.5 or 15. So Let's go Old Dominion, and then I'm with you. I'll take the under as well. I don't think this gets super high scoring. I'd like to think Virginia Tech can kind of keep Old Dominion off the board, but I like the under. I'm not going to lock it up, though. I'm going to kind of make that a pick, but keep it where it is.
Yep, fair enough.
All right. Old Dominion for me, Virginia Tech for Mike, under for the both of us, and Mike has that locked up. We will keep moving. Let's go back to noon on the ACC network as the NC State Wolfpack, a 21.5-point home favorite, taking on the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. Is that right? Bulldogs? Sounds right.
Sounds right.
All right, fair enough. Totals 48.5 in Raleigh. Speaking of teams I don't trust to get margin, Mike, 3 touchdowns in the hook? I don't even know what Louisiana Tech has done this year. I don't care. It's NC State. We're not laying 21.5 with the Wolfpack right now.
Why not? Because they didn't look fantastic in week 1, and they got the breaks just beaten off of them against a really, really good Tennessee team.
I mean, don't worry. There's like a little bit of a hangover after just being completely drubbed last week by Tennessee.
Joey, Louisiana. This has like Charlotte vibes, and I still think I was on the right side of that. That was kind of BS, but whatever. Whatever. I'll let you have it. I'll let you have it. You asked about Louisiana Tech, Joey, and Louisiana Tech has played 1 game this season.
And they won.
Do you know who they played?
If I'm not mistaken, it was Nicholls State.
Do you know how much they won by?
I believe it was an entire score.
25-17.
Yeah,
You're correct. They won by 8 points. I'm laying them with NC State. NC State bounces back here. There's a chance that Louisiana Tech is just terrible. There's a legitimate chance. Now, again, small sample size, and we're dealing with small sample sizes here. So week 3 is the opportunity for a lot of us to be really, really wrong about a lot of teams because there's overreactions to wins and losses, and there are teams who simply have not played anybody yet. Louisiana Tech hasn't played anybody yet, and they've only won by a touchdown. And so that's what I'm laughing at. NC State's going to be eating pets this weekend. Oh, what a country we
Moving
have.
on.
Lee, come on.
We'll have better candidates at some point in time. Give me the Wolfpack.
This is what we get
Wolfpack,
for
we're laying
recording
them.
shows at almost midnight Eastern.
We're laying them. Fantastic from Lee, buddy. Shout out to Lee. I laying him with the pack.
I'm not laying all those points with NC State. If I'm wrong,
Okay.
I'm wrong. That's fine. Louisiana Tech, for what it's worth, is off a bye week. So they had Nicholls State, and then they have a bye. So now they're off. They've basically barely played this year. So a little bit of a who the hell knows with them. But
Yeah.
again, I mean, NC State needs a get-right spot, but
They found it. This is it. This is
well,
your get right spot.
We'll see. We'll see.
Non-zero chance. Louisiana Tech is the worst team they've played so far.
Yeah, on the table.
It is on the table. Western's feisty.
Yeah. Total 49.5. If I lean under, wouldn't make that a pick. Certainly would not lock it up.
No opinion on the total. I mean, NC State might need to do a lot of the scoring themselves, and maybe they'll be welcome to doing that. I don't know. We'll see.
That's right. That's right.
I got questions, and I don't mean to like drone this on too long, but like I also have questions about Grayson McCall, too.
Oh, I have big questions about Grayson McCall. Yeah.
We highlighted that before the year. I mean, I don't know. He's been a little bit of a mixed bag since parting ways with Jamie Chadwell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have my questions, and he looked pretty bad against Tennessee. But I think a lot of teams are going to look pretty bad against Tennessee this year with the way they're not only playing offense but playing defense. So maybe it's okay. Maybe it's not a sound the alarm situation. But if McCall goes for if he completes 60% of his passes for 170 yards in this game, and NC State only wins by 14, I think we're sounding the alarms.
Does it do anything to your opinion of this game, Mike? And by the way, Jackson Johnson makes a comment here that I'm going to kind of bounce off of. Does it change your opinion of this spot at all, knowing that next week NC State is in Death Valley?
No.
This is like the sandwich spot of all sandwich spots, right? Of like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. It is Tennessee and Clemson. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that if you're looking to string something together.
I don't think it does.
No. I mean, this is the worst stretch. But luckily for NC State, they get their 2 toughest games out of the way early. I mean, it's a very gettable schedule after that, so you kind of find out where you are. But yeah, it's a sandwich spot. But like, this is one you don't want to drop if you want to like contend for an ACC title, because that's very much on the table still. That Tennessee loss, that's the one you want to lose.
And yeah, and I'm not saying you drop the game, but just do you only win by 14 where you hope to win by 28 or something like that? I mean, that's where I'm at. So anyways, Louisiana Tech for me, NC State for Mike. I think both of us kind of lean under the 48.5, but no plays on that. 3:30 on the ACC network, the number 10 Miami Hurricanes at home taking on the Ball State Cardinals. Cardinals? I think that's right.
That's correct.
Miami a 36.5 point home favorite. Total's 54.5. I don't have a lot of analysis here, Mike, other than Miami kind of. Who was it? Was it Florida A&M? Who did they play last week?
Florida A&M. Yeah, Florida A&M.
Which there were comments that, is this the toughest team from Tallahassee that they'll play all year? People are asking. Miami kind of tore them limb from limb. I think they'll do the same thing here against Ball State. So I'll lay 36.5 with Miami, no problem. And give me the over 54.5 because I think they might just about do that themselves.
I can't believe I'm doing this. Give me Ball State.
At your own
Give me
risk,
Ball
Mike.
State. There's something in the water. There's something in the water with MAC schools this year so far, and I am going to board that train just out of principle and say that Ball State covers more than 5 touchdowns.
That is an enormous amount of.
It's a lot of points, but they might do it. I don't know.
It is. I mean, it's. You're basically wondering when does Miami let off the gas pedal and walk away, and for a power an FBS on FBS game that is an enormous spread, but I don't know that Ball State is one of even the better teams in the MAC, so like. Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to think that Miami could win this game 49-7 or something, but being that it is that many points, I'm not going to lock it up.
42-7 would be pretty funny.
That would be hilarious for you. Less funny for me, but that's fine either way.
Yeah.
Miami for me, over for me, Ball State for Mike. 2 more here. We got 6 o'clock on the ACC Network Extra in ESPN Plus. Everyone's favorite TV slot. Once again, it's the 6 o'clock game for the second time now today. The Duke Blue Devils, a 16.5 point home favorite at home, taking on the UConn Huskies. Totals 46.5. Mike, speaking of teams, do we trust them to get margin? Do we trust Duke?
Fighting Jim Morris, baby.
Do we trust Duke to get 16.5 of margin?
Nope.
I don't.
Nope. Barely beat Northwestern. Nope. And
Give me
out of principle, because of what Duke did to me at the window last weekend, I gotta bet. I got to bet on UConn to cover this. Have to. Yeah, I'm locking up UConn. Locking up UConn. I'm not locking it up. That'd be something.
I heard you say it, Mike. That was right there.
You guys had that sound ready. That was good. We got to go back in time and figure out what game that was, because that was before UConn was even like out of the box, like
acceptable.
Acceptable. Yeah, I don't want to call them competent, but like they were able to like get 11 people on the field at one time, barely. It was like that point in time.
I think
And
it was
I
like
locked them up.
2022. It was either 21 or 22, I want to say. But yeah, somebody will know where that came from. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on UConn. A little earlier, I was listening to Cover 3, and Bud took UConn in the Moneyline Sprinkles. I think he got a little better than 6-1 on it. And I texted that to you, and you seemed a little repulsed by it. But also, do they have to play this game 7 times for UConn to win one?
Probably not.
No, I don't. So I think there's some
Probably
value
not.
there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to pick it, but I could see a scenario where UConn wins this game on the field. So be careful here, Duke. Give me UConn to cover. I think Duke wins, but it's as Corso would say, closer than the experts think. Maybe like 24-17. And by that logic, I also like under 46.5. I think this is a low-scoring game. Duke's offense has been fits and starts at best so far.
Malik Murphy and not much else. So I haven't listened to Locks Pod yet for Cover 3. I was on my list this afternoon. Didn't get to it, so that's gonna be a listen for me tomorrow morning. But yeah, UConn the under.
Fair enough. UConn on the under for the both of us. No locks on this one. Last game of our picks here, Mike. The Cal Golden Bears return home from the Plains after a win over Auburn. They are a 18.5 point home favorite, taking on the San Diego State Aztecs. Totals 47.5. That is a hell of a lot of points in a little bit of a letdown spot after coming home from Jordan Hare. I don't think San Diego State is that bad. Give me the points with the Aztecs here. I think Cal wins, but I think this is like a 7 to 10 point game, not a 3-score game.
Do you think Oregon State's any good?
Not awful, but not particularly good, no.
San Diego State did not score on Oregon State last weekend. In a home game.
Yeah, but aside from that,
aside from that, well, at least San Diego State beat Texas A&M Commerce, I guess.
let's hedge that bet and take the under as well.
Pivot. Pivot.
Might be on Cal to do all the scoring here.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm going to lay them with Cal. I'm going to lay them with Cal. There's a chance. Might be a little early on that. Might be a little early on this.
Go off, King. Keep going. Do it.
There's a chance that Cal could sneak into Charlotte. Before
Can you
laugh,
imagine Cal having to fly from Berkeley to Charlotte to play in the conference championship
before you
game?
laugh,
What?
before you laugh, look at the schedule.
Okay.
Ready?
I mean,
Do you want me to just
Yep.
read it to you?
hit me.
Got the Aztecs this weekend. You travel to Tallahassee, probably be favored. Right? We think? Maybe.
Not crazy. Yeah, that's possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe short road favorite. Okay. Home against Miami. Probably lose.
Probably.
But maybe not. I mean, they're going cross country.
Yeah.
Who knows? At Pitt. We'll see. Home against NC State. We just talked about the jury being out. We'll see. Home against that Oregon State team I just talked about. I think Cal's better than Oregon State. You travel to Wake. You host Syracuse, Stanford, and then you travel on the road to SMU to end the year. That is not an impossible schedule based on what we know about those teams so far. That is not an impossible schedule. Could you conceivably go 8-2 in your remaining 10 games, and one of those losses be to Oregon State? And then we're talking about a one-loss Cal team with a chance to go to Charlotte. They'd probably be in Charlotte with one loss.
It's possible. I will say, I mean, how many of those games is Cal favored by more than 5 or 6 points? You know, like
put this up. I gotta put this up. It has to happen. Well done. Well done. By the way, have we found the comments have been lit tonight?
Everything
have we
about
found
this
that
is
guy?
perfect. I love this. This is excellent.
The timeout meme and everything. Have we found?
You have to read it. You haven't read it yet. Audio doesn't know what you're talking about.
Have we found the guy? Have we found the guy yet? Is the question.
The search continues, I'm
We
afraid.
haven't found the guy, but read the comment.
If Cal appears in the ACC championship, I will eat dog shit.
Is a quote attributed to meme enthusiast 24. Just to everyone needs to be clear, Mike's not saying that. He's just
I
reading
am
what
not.
somebody else said.
And Scott, thank you for reminding me that we are not just a YouTube show; we are a podcast. So we had to get that out there. Thank you very much.
That's what I'm here for.
That comment was phenomenal.
Some lucky folks out there that don't have to look at our mugs. Our
Just
ugly
another
mugs,
reason
but
to subscribe to the YouTube. Anyway,
How many of those games is Cal more than like a 5 or 6 point favorite in?
not many. I didn't say they were going to. I said could sneak in. I think were the words I used.
Like, so yes. So if they did this is the equivalent of just like a ridiculous heater at the craps table. Like it's happened, but you can't really bank on it. So
Right.
like that's we'll see.
Lee Nobody's hammering this home, so I think we need to bring this up because I think it's a fair point. Cal is playing for game day. If they won here in FSU, they might host game day versus Miami. They have never hosted college game day. It's in the cards.
They've got to be on a short list of powered conference teams that have never hosted game day.
Agree. They've been bad for a while though.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought. That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Something else I'm going to mention here, because we're an hour and 17 minutes into this podcast, and I haven't really gotten a chance to fire off this take the last few weeks because we haven't really done a Q&A show or anything like that.
Oh, boy.
Something I want to monitor this season is this idea of like travel fatigue. And really what I'm thinking is that 30, 40 years ago, travel was a much bigger deal. You're traveling by bus, you're traveling by rail, you're not flying as much. But as flying has become more and more common, travel fatigue has kind of gotten to a point where it's like, well, yeah, they have to travel, but like, I mean, it's a couple hours on a plane, like no big deal, whatever. I wonder, and this is one of the things I want to watch with Cal and Stanford especially, is two teams that are going to have to travel across the country several times throughout the season. Like, is there a cumulative effect by the time we get to November where they are a little tired, they are a little worn down because they have continually had to make these trips? Cal especially, you've got to do this, 3 times in the ACC? You didn't have to do it, and yet you just did it going to Auburn. Mm-hmm. So you've added an extra one in there that was really kind of not forced on you by the conference. So that's something I want to monitor.
And to be fair, I know you're not blaming Cal for this, but I mean that Auburn non-con home and home situation, they were not anticipating having to play in the ACC when they scheduled that.
Yeah,
in their defense, of course, but I know you weren't blaming Cal for that situation.
No. It's not a blame thing. It's more just, these teams were expected to have to make that trip 3 times across the country, but they just by happenstance have to make a 4th. So it's a lot of time on planes and in airports and that kind of thing. Even though they're chartered flights and all that, I get that. But again, cumulative effect. I'm wondering.
And I think that's a good point. I just want to close the loop on the game day thing. Lee Nobody said Rutgers, UVA, Cal, and Syracuse are the 4 schools that have never hosted college game day
Go
for a power
ACC,
conference.
baby.
So
Go
got
ACC.
We got 75% ACC representation here. The thing that I really like about the San Diego State Cal game that I forgot to mention off the top is that one of these schools is going to be in the Pac-12 in the next couple of years, and it's not who you think it is. So just want to get that in there as well. And I like Cal minus 18.5. I'm going to lay him with the Bears.
Give me the points at the Aztecs. If Cal gets there, they get there, but I don't trust them yet. We'll see.
Yep. No opinion on total.
I'll take under 47.5.
Okay.
All right. Mike, that's all I've got games-wise with spreads. We've also got at 3:30 p.m. on the ACC Network Extra and ESPN Plus, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets at home taking on VMI. For some reason, I have just no earthly idea what their mascot is. But
The Keydets,
The
brother.
Keydets.
the Cadets, the Keydets.
No, Keydets.
The Keydets.
Keydets.
Is there an inside Virginia joke on that?
Nope.
Nope. That's what they're called.
Wait, I was thinking they were the Cadets.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
They are the Keydets. Why did that change? I've never heard that before. I feel like
They are the
That's-
Keydets.
Well, that's wild.
In
Okay,
your defense, you haven't had to watch a lot of VMI football, but you're familiar with the Citadel.
I'm well. I was about to
Had to
say
get
I'm
that one in
blessed,
there.
but clearly I'm not. So, anyways, this
And you're
really
used to Northern Illinois as well. I mean, Notre Dame's not the first giant that they've slayed.
familiar. Yeah, they beat the fighting Jeff Collins there a couple years ago. So fantastic. VMI is 0-2. They got blown out by William and Mary, and then they lost by a touchdown last week to Bucknell. So, heaven forbid this is a game in the third quarter. It really, really, really should not be, but Lord knows how these things go. So we will see, and hopefully that's not a game. Then at 6 o'clock on the ACC
Wait, timeout.
Network Extra.
Ricky LeBlue,
Okay.
Ricky LeBlue, VMI alt spread minus 14. Ricky's trying to buy a house on that bet.
Is Ricky cold and trying to heat his house? Because like setting the money on fire might do more good for him at that point. Anyways,
It was fun. Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that.
I see you, Ricky. I see you.
A
6
lot
o'clock.
to Georgia Tech. A lot to a little.
Yeah, I think so. 6 o'clock, ACC Network Extra, ESPN Plus. The North Carolina Tar Heels at home taking on the NC Centrals. I have no idea what the mascot is here, but anyways,
Queen Elizabeth II. I'm willing to give NC Central that award already.
they are the Eagles. That's boring. All right, the NC Central Eagles. This really should not be anything interesting at all. And as much as I don't think all that highly of North Carolina right now, like this should not be a competitive game. This should be over by halftime.
It's just one step closer to going bowling. I keep bringing that up because they're probably gonna do it.
Can I work on trademarking the phrase "worst bowl eligible team in the country"? I feel like I might be using that here in a couple of months.
That's up there with the worst 5-0 team in the country that I coined for Boston College a year ago. So if I can do that, you can do anything.
That's fair. That's fair. Meme enthusiast with another one. Ricky, can I borrow $20? It's clear you have money. All right, Mike. Anything else on week 3 before we recap some locks?
Lee Nobody had another really good point. Jeff Collins' defense could never lose to an FCS team. So,
Well, if you asked him, he'd tell you that wasn't a Jeff Collins defense. That was an Andrew Thacker defense. Because
no.
Jeff Collins is good for nothing if not deflecting blame.
Well, somebody's got to do it when you have a real head scratcher.
That's right. That's right. Mike, I have terrible news.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
Bowling Green's on a bye week this week, so we do not
yeah.
have any Bowling Green action to cover on the podcast.
But next
It's-
week, baby, they're going to Texas A&M.
Let's go. Going to face our old buddy Mike Elko.
I don't care what the spread is. Give me the Falcons in College Station.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
care what the spread is. Can't wait for that one. I'm already fading A&M. I'm on Florida this weekend, plus 3.5 at home in the Swamp. I'm already fading A&M.
Oh, man. Godspeed on that.
Feeling good about it. Feeling good about it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I wish you luck on that one. I'll be cheering for you for sure.
Home dog of the week outside the ACC.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. All right, let's recap our locks. I have under 63.5 in the Backyard Brawl, Pitt, West Virginia. I also have Ole Miss minus 22.5 in their game against Wake Forest. Mike, you have under 52.5 in Florida State and Memphis, and under 49.5 in Virginia Tech and Old Dominion. Scott, did we miss anything? Anything else before we work on getting ourselves out of here?
Nope. I think you guys said everything. Again, if you're watching or listening and haven't subscribed on YouTube or Spotify or Apple, please do. We see the numbers, especially on YouTube. Over 70% of our returning viewers, which we have over 1,000. Just hit the subscribe button. We're just trying to get to 500. We're only 100-ish away, so just please hit the subscribe button. If you're back for a second, third, fourth time, it would help us out.
Absolutely. Please
Also,
do.
shout out Scott, the return of Scott on the podcast. He hadn't been on here for a recording in a while because he's a parent now. We all know what that's like. So welcome back.
Thanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. Sun's cooperating tonight, so that's good.
That is good. It's good when they do that.
Scott's the only one of us that has like a reasonable bedtime that he respects on a regular basis.
It's good. That's good.
We just
You
do
and
this
I-
instead of sleeping.
You and I are trying to kill ourselves by 40. I mean, somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. If we don't talk ACC football in the middle of the night on YouTube, who will?
Who will? That's right.
That's right.
Right.
That's why God put us on this planet.
Yeah.
Anyways,
If nobody's betting on Wake to cover 22.5 on planet Earth, that means I am dead.
I think Scott Van Pelt would describe that as the old hottie bees special.
Oh,
Hold on
yeah.
to your butts.
Yeah, hold on to your butts. Yep.
There you go. All right, let's get out of here. Let's go watch some games, come back and recap them. We're going to be back Saturday night, roughly midnight Eastern, roughly. Once again, hit subscribe, hit the like, hit the bell icon. You'll be notified when we are going to go live Saturday night to recap all the action, all the games that on the day that was. We might even be doing a little bit of live watching with that Cal San Diego State game. So come check in with
Decent.
us. We'll see how that game ends up, and maybe it's a little closer than we think it's going to be. We'll see.
For as bad as the overall schedule looks this weekend, like across college football, the late night slate, there are some games there. So
Yep,
that's good for us.
absolutely. So yeah, come hang out with us. YouTube.com/@the-ACC Football Podcast. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon. We'd appreciate that. We were working our way towards 500. We are so close. We're getting there. 500 subscribers. That's our goal for the year. So thanks to the people helping us out with that. Mike, we're on Twitter @FTRSJoey, @Mike McDaniel SI, @Severus Snipes, @BC Podcast ACC. Send us an email, basketballconferencepodcast@gmail.com.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Where else are we on the social medias?
Facebook.com/basketball conference rate review. Find some of our podcasts there. We're also on Instagram @BC Podcast ACC. I also just want to note that we already added a subscriber. We're at 393 subscribers.
Look at that.
So there we go.
Chat killing it tonight. Appreciate that,
So.
folks.
All you better be subscribing. That'd be
Yep.
very helpful.
We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Anywhere you go find your podcast, go find us there. Meme Enthusiast, good show. I joined, and the first thing I heard was Cal and Charlotte and had to check my headphones. That's where your profile picture came in there, Meme Enthusiast. Was
Yep. Throw me the timeout. And to be clear, Cal could be in Charlotte. We got to put that in quotes because if this is a really bad take, I just want it to be known that there were no absolutes, so I can kind of squirm my way out of it.
Scott,
It's also week 3.
It's also week 3.
if San Diego State wins on Saturday,
Oh, I'll get the clip.
I trust that you will clip Mike saying that. Play it on repeat during the show.
Don't you worry.
There
Listen,
you go.
listen. All I'll say is that you guys might be doing a 2-man show if that is the case. Not because I'm going to get clipped. That's happened plenty of times before. Just because I may not be able to show my face after that heinous take that I fired off about it might be early, but they could be in Charlotte. And then losing outright as a 3-touchdown favorite would be rough. That would be a rough look for me.
Crazier things have happened.
Yes, crazier things have happened. So keeping an eye on this one.
Mike, SVP has Wake in winners, so
Yeah, he does.
I've got Ole Miss locked up. We'll see who wins there. We'll see how that goes.
He's also got Kentucky in winners. Better him than me. Jesus.
Yeah, goodness. You want to go watch some games? Come back and recap them?
Yeah, I can't believe that. Yes.
Saturday night, Sunday morning, midnight Eastern or thereabouts. Come hang out with us as you have a nightcap and finish up watching these games.
Yeah, respectfully, let's call it 12:15. I'll see you guys there.
Let's do it.
The
All right.
honesty, I love it. Good job.
Let's
Yep.
go. All right, for that guy, Mr. Mike McDaniel, for producer Scott, I am Joey Weaver. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your help. We will talk to you guys again very, very soon. Enjoy the games. Until then, go ACC.